Yeah. I'm feeling like a star, you can't stop my shine. I'm loving Cloud City, my head's in the sky. I'm solo, I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo. Yeah, I'm feeling good tonight, finally feeling free and it feels so right. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see a princess, everything's alright. Oh, no job but an answer to. Ain't a fixture in the palace zoo. No, and since the carbon nights off me, I'm living life now that I'm free. Yeah, told me get myself together. Now I got myself together. Now I made it through the weather. Better days are gonna get better. I'm so happy the carbon night is gone. I'm moving on. I'm so happy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I'm your host Caleb.
Hi, I'm Seth. I talk Star Wars with this man.
That's right. But before we go into actual Star Wars, let's just talk about. We like to talk about what we've been up to during the week. That's not Star Wars related.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy games. I know last week we talked about me playing Rebirth. I'm still doing that. I'm also playing Original 7 again because it's been a minute. So that way I can kind of compare the timelines, since we're talking about multiple timelines. And then I'm also playing 8 again, because that's my favorite. That 8's my personal favorite of Final Fantasy games. So, somebody made a voice mod, and they have a demo out for it, so I'm trying it. Same people that Suna Mods, they did the Final Fantasy 7 OG voice mod. So, a lot of fun there. Also, Classic Battlefront collection came out, so I've been playing a lot of that. I'm already mostly... I'm actually already halfway to getting 100% on the trophies.
Oh, man.
I just gotta do certain things here and there, and then rank up in Battlefront 2. Oh, you good? And then, I mean, there's some bugs here and there, because people are talking about it. There's some bugs here or there for it, for sure, and I've had a couple things here and there where, like, some of the graphics don't always pop in, and on top of that, I haven't had any issues yet, but I also haven't played a lot of multiplayer online yet, but I know that the servers are kind of, with the ping, there's some pretty high ping rate going on there, so... We'll see. That's about it, really, of like what I've been up to.
You were explaining the kind of the plot to me a little bit.
For which one?
7 remake. Yeah.
Oh yeah, remake and rebirth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like you know the lore, kind of, sort of.
Kind of.
And so I was like, here's what's going on. That's different.
Like if you told a drunk amnesiac the lore, that's about what I've got.
Yeah. Since I beat Crisis Core Reunion pretty recently, now I'm on to OG 7, and then, you can probably tell, or is that...
Just ice in it.
Here, you can put it in here. This is trash. You're good.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm playing OG 7 at the same time as Rebirth, and I'm actually in the same levels, because I'm making sure that where I'm at in Rebirth is where I'm at in OG 7, so, I'm in I just finished the main part of Costa del Sol for Rebirth, and then so I just finished that. I just finished going through Costa del Sol in OG 7, so they're lining up just so I can immediately compare contrast. And then after I finish OG 7 and Rebirth, I want to do Dirge of Cerberus, because I have not actually played Dirge of Cerberus, but it's also very different. It's a shooter. With some RPG mechanics, but it's a shooter. Because you play as Vincent in that. What have you been up to?
I've been going through Elden Ring a little bit again. I've also been
prepping for the DLC.
Yep. Which has constituted me starting a whole new... Well, not a whole new playthrough. I started this playthrough a while back, and me and my younger brother, Lee, not Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
He's also been trying to get into it. So I went and I explained to him how to like do guard counters, and like going and getting the crafting kit so he can make himself little bone dart throwing knives and fire pots.
Mm-hmm.
Explaining that to him because he doesn't. It's not that he can't look up information on its own. It's just one of those things where it's more fun to just ask people you know. And I was like, all right, here's what you need to do. And if you're able to do this, you should be good for the rest of the game. So now that I've taught him that, I have also told him, okay, now go down to Castle Morn and complete that area. Once you do that, you should be good for the rest of the game because it covers all the basics.
Yeah.
That's the litmus test.
Okay.
Yeah. He's doing like a strength build, I think.
Yeah.
Other thing I've been doing, I have been doing an Outer Worlds run.
Yep. I think we talked about that last week.
Yep. I am now the vice president of Sublight.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And do you remember that gun? I was supposed to get a unique gun for like a quest reward for that one.
Yeah.
I figured out why I didn't get it.
Oh?
Yeah.
I'm guessing you got it this time.
I got it this time. In order to do that, you need to assassinate 2 people. The first of which is the like Butcher King or something.
Okay.
I remember because the last time I talked about this quest, I was not feeling great about how I went about it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even talk to him this time. I just shot him and left.
Cool.
I also, for this time, in order to get the gun, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, you have to kill 2 people. The first of which, the Boris King, is a cannibal, and I don't feel bad about killing that man at all.
Which is why you did half of it last time. This time.
So this last time I had Vicar Max and Parvati with me when we went to go and talk to the scientist lady.
And honestly, Parvati tends to be the moral compass of the group.
Yeah.
Like, if you're about to do something shady, usually she'll be like, hey, should we be doing that?
Yeah.
So, usually the moral compass. Vicar is less so, like,
Yeah.
he has some morals, but they're not the same.
Mm-hmm. He's like, we'll try to do good as long as it doesn't get in my way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, last time, those are who I had with me. This time I had Ellie and Felix.
Okay.
And Ellie's like, you know, the president of Sublight would be a good person to have on our side. And I'm like, that's a pretty good argument. And I turned to Felix and I'm like, what do you think, Felix? And Felix is like, anyone whose name is on the corporate ladder needs to go. And I'm like,
So Felix is an anarchist.
yeah, except he's not a very smart one. Like, I've gone into Felix's room and he's got like a bunch of books, and the description for them is, these books have never been opened or read.
Got it.
Yeah. And so, like, for that particular quest, it's like, the scientist lady is like, so, as you know, Halcyon is mad fucked. We are dying because we don't have no food. So because we can't eat the stuff that's native to here. So I thought if we made our bodies more similar to the wildlife here, we could eat the food that was here. And like all of the like subjects and all these fucked experiments are like, yeah, these are volunteers, the scientists, and she's like, we tried and we tried and we tried, and nothing has been working. And I'm still trying, and I'm like, last time I was like, all right, if you work for Phineas Wells, all good.
Yeah.
This time I was like, well, Lila Hagen still wants you dead. And she's like, I understand that I'm deserving of death. And I'm like, alright. She still fought back, and I'm like, I'm gonna kill you anyway. And so I did.
Yep.
And now I'm vice president of Sublight. Cool armor, cool weapons. The negotiator is a very fun description for the gun. A little plasma pistol.
Got it. Some aggressive negotiations.
Actually, I am the full official title that that character has is Vice President of Sublight, Department of Aggressive Acquisitions.
I had to make the Star Wars reference though, because we are a Star Wars podcast.
Yeah,
so
it's very aggressive.
um,
I'd say the most aggressive you could get.
so with that, let's go ahead and there's not a lot of news. We really only have a couple pieces of film news this
All
week. But both are actually really exciting in my opinion.
Okay.
First up is Daisy Ridley has been going on press tours for her new film Magpie. And during it, Collider asked her some questions regarding the new Jedi Order films that we know are coming, right?
Okay.
Because we know we got the Rey post sequel trilogy films.
All right.
And we learned that while she has not read the script yet, she plans to pretty soon. And that apparently they were supposed to begin filming this year. But the writer's strike slowed down production and the writing of the script, as it did for a lot of movies. And so, however, according to her, it still could start filming later this year, if not early next year. That's her prediction.
Okay.
So that's somebody on the inside that would kind of know what's going. I would imagine she would know, like, to some degree, what's going on with the film because she is going to be starring in it. This isn't some Joe Schmo saying, I think it's going to be. No, according to one of the leads, who she hasn't got the script yet, but from what she knows, it should be soon, and so that means we're getting progress on that. So likely with the current progress of that, as well as the Mandalorian and Grogu film, I think. So the Mandalorian Grogu film we talked about is already starting to get ready for, like, they're in production now, so they're about to start filming pretty soon. So I imagine that one's gonna film first. That one's gonna get done first. I think we're gonna get Mandalorian Grogu first. I think that's gonna come out probably next year or 2026 would be my prediction. If they're filming now, probably next year. Probably looking at late next year. Give some time for editing, right? And then the new Jedi Order film would then probably follow within the next 2 years after that. Would be my guess. And that one's supposed to be a trilogy, I think we said previously when talking about it. Because I think New Jedi Order and the Dawn of the Jedi ones are supposed to be trilogies. I believe. If I remember correctly. It's been a minute since we talked about those. Another one that it's been a minute. This next piece of film news is actually a bit of a twist. As it turns out, the Rogue Squadron film is back on.
What do you mean it's back on?
Because you know how we talked about the Rogue Squadron film kind of got like dead? Like it was just like, oh, Patty Jenkins is no longer involved and there's no film, right? Well, guess what? Patty Jenkins is back in the writer's chair working on Rogue Squadron.
Alright.
Turns out she was recently on a podcast where she talked about how her work on Wonder Woman 3 was like the main reason for leaving. And we knew that she publicly said, hey, I'm not working on Rogue Squadron so I can work on Wonder Woman 3. Wonder Woman 3, however, got canceled as a project. That one's off the slate.
Give it like 2 months and they're like, actually we're canceling Rogue Squadron so you can go back to working on that one.
No. So on the podcast she talked about the deals that she had going on behind the scenes. So we got a little bit of behind the scenes discussion about it, which was that her and Lucasfilm both kind of came to the like agreement that she would do Wonder Woman 3 first, and then the intention was after Wonder Woman 3 was done, she would come back and do Rogue Squadron. But for the meantime, they were just going to say that it was paused, that they weren't going to do it. So that's why they publicly said to us that, hey, Rogue Squadron's not happening. Because they didn't want it. To be fair, with how the film industry works, that's probably the best way of going about it, rather than saying, we're pausing it until she does Wonder Woman 3. No, it's just better to not give us that hope, because maybe something goes wrong in the time between her making Wonder Woman 3 and then finishing that. Say something falls through afterwards. So it's better to just say, for now, it's canceled, rather than say, hey, we're just pausing it. No, because film schedules change all the time. And so, since Wonder Woman 3 got canceled because of James Gunn, taking over and kind of changing what the plans are for Warner Brothers and DC, that now gave her a chance to go back to Lucasfilm, and they made a new agreement. And basically, the new deal is that she's going to write the film. Because I think she was kind of helping write, but I don't think she was the main writer at the time. But now she's the main writer. But this deal was struck just before the writer's strike started. So then they had to, once again go on a pause, which is why they didn't announce it. Which makes sense. It makes sense not to announce that, hey, we just made this deal that's bringing this film back. Because that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because that would just be terrible timing to be like...
Yeah, it'd be a weird choice.
It'd be like, hey, I know there's a huge writer strikes going on, but we just signed Patty Jenkins back on to write and direct Rogue Squadron again. That would be a weird announcement to make.
I'm just imagining the, meme of the guy going, okay. You know the one where he's, confused, sure, I guess.
But now with the strike over, she is now working away on the story, and they're trying to decide, kind of the best path for the film. They kind of haven't nailed the story down yet, so they're working on it. So that one's probably still a few years off. That one's going to definitely be after New Jedi Order. If we're going, when we think these films are coming out. I'm thinking we get Mandalorian and Grogu, because that's the one that's already in production. It's already, making its way. It's going to come out next year at the soonest, would be my guess. Like I said, within the next 2 years, New Jedi Order film with Daisy, and then Wonder Woman. Then Rogue Squadron, probably another 2 years after that, because that'll give time to develop the story, and because that should be enough time. That we're looking at a 5-year jump between now and when we probably get Rogue Squadron. That makes sense, especially since I doubt they're ever going to have multiple Star Wars films come out in the same year, and I don't think they're ever going to do within the same 2 years ever again. Just because they after they tried to do that with the anthology films, they kind of after Solo they were just like, nah, we're not going to do a movie and then another movie the next year. I think they're going to go back to having it be every 2 years we get a movie.
That gives enough time for the hype to die down.
Yeah, you get the hype to die down, and then it feels like an event again when the next film comes out. 3 years would also be, because that's what Star Wars, that's how I kind of remember the years for the prequels, because it was 99, 2002, 2005. And so, I remember that it was every 3 years for those. And that definitely gave enough time for hype to die down.
Yeah.
Even with books and video games coming out, there was still enough hype for fans that were invested in the games and books, and then have that hype build back up once you start announcing, especially Revenge of the Sith, because they really got to be it's the end of the saga, and so until the sequels.
Yep.
And then Episode 9 got to do that same type of hype. So that's it for film news. I think both of these are exciting to hear. It's good to hear that these things are kind of moving forward. I'm excited that Rogue Squadron's back on the slate, because I feel like that was an exciting project for a lot of people that I know. Because if you like kind of a World War II fighter plane type story, that's really what Rogue Squadron's going to be. Because that's what what the books are, the X-Wing books, which is what Rogue Squadron's going to take some inspiration from.
I remember, at the time we were discussing it, I think, what was it? Top Gun or
Top Gun
was coming out.
Yeah, Top Gun Maverick was coming out.
I wouldn't release two very similar films at the same time.
Yeah. So because that was the original plan. It was supposed to come out when Top Gun Maverick came out. Yeah, that would have been insane.
Yeah, I was like.
And then it was even funnier because then Maverick did come out and everybody compared it to Star Wars because they were like, "Oh, there's the trench run in Maverick." Which it's like, yeah, where do you think the trench run in Star Wars got its inspiration from? From dogfighting type stuff. That classic World War II dogfights. That's where George got that inspiration from. So I think it's kind of funny, and so I I think for a lot of people who like those type of films, I mean, we know a few people like that. JD was excited about it. I think he's going to be excited to hear it's back on. Our friend Chase Forward Into the Black, he loves flight stuff. He loves flight sims and X-wing and all that stuff. So he'll probably be excited to hear that this is back on too. I'm curious how people are going to feel about Patty Jenkins, because I know a lot of people didn't like Wonder Woman 84. I actually didn't mind it as much.
I have not seen it, so I will not judge it.
Because I know a lot of people like the first Wonder Woman, and then Wonder Woman 84 came out, and not as many.
I did see the first one, though.
Yeah.
That was a fun time.
Yeah. And so I think, and also Patty has a little bit more of a connection to this, because like when they announced it, she sold it. We talked about it when she announced it, but she sold it as the pitch was, I'm doing this because like my dad was in the military as a flying planes, so she knows about this. Like she has a connection to it, so she's writing what she knows, and so I think that's gonna help it. Because you know what they say, write what you know. But that's it for news. Like I said, I'm excited. We're in a good era for Star Wars, honestly. If anybody, like, we are getting fed as fans. And speaking of, let's get into the main topic for today, which I'm going to do a heavy spoiler warning for.
Big spoilers, big warning, all red.
High Republic, Defy the Storm. Speaking of getting fed as fans, man. This book, once again, showing the young adult novels are some of the best in the High Republic.
I will say, I fucked up on my page count, because for one day I took a break from reading, and then I was like, oh fuck, I gotta start, and I had to change the amount. I was like, all right, well, instead of 75, I have to read 100 pages a day now.
Yeah, Audible threw me off a little bit because it originally didn't separate the difference between introduction and then the intro, certain sounds. It didn't separate those initially. And then they eventually were like, oh yeah, no, it's this. And eventually it updated the book, and it actually showed chapters 1 through 40, introduction, epilogue. Whereas before it didn't show introduction and epilogue, it just had 44 chapters. Which that's what it comes out to if you include the introduction and all the other stuff that for the audiobook. So it would be 43 for the main book, because they have to do a separate introduction sort of deal for the audiobooks. They separate the Audible presents, and then they separate the opening crawl, which they don't play that theme. They have their own little theme, because High Republic, the audiobooks for High Republic have their own theme, and I'm so mad. I'm so mad they have not released the theme for the High Republic as its own separate music piece. I'd pay $1.99 to have that sound, to have that song, because it's
good.
Yeah, it slaps. It's great. It really gets you excited. It's like it's really exciting, and it's just man, this gets me hyped. Yeah. And then of course you go immediately into depressive mode, because you remember you're in phase 3 of the High Republic.
Anyhow, Nihilor here, Stormwall, big problem, many dead. Yeah. Many ensnared.
Yeah, and you're just oh yeah.
Oh right, all the problems.
So the main plot, our main POV characters, we have 4 main POVs. We have Vern, Avon, Xylan, Graf, and Jordana Spark. Yeah, Burn.
Spark Burn, yeah.
Yeah. And so I really like these 4 characters. They are great. Once again, Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland, who wrote this, they are a great pairing when they write together. Because they did this, and then they did the stuff for Phase 2 together. So, whenever they are paired together, it is amazing. And so...
Good work.
Yeah, it's really good work. And so, I like our POV characters. We get a lot of really good stuff. We start off with Avon. Yeah. And I wrote in the Discord, because it's in the first chapter, because Avon is hanging out with Diva Lompop, and you're just oh, you're a diva, and Diva immediately eats somebody, within the first chapter. Yep. And I commented, oh, we're going right into it with Diva.
Oh, yeah.
Another reason to join the Discord, because we do like sometimes we'll message things about the book we're reading.
I'm like, oh, God, all right, we're starting here, huh? My favorite Nihil.
It's actually been a minute since we've seen Deva, so
Yeah, I'm amazed that you lived as long as you did.
makes it all the way to the Imperial era.
Yeah.
Probably beyond that, because we actually don't know her fate yet.
Yeah.
I'm not personally caught up on the comics in the modern era of Star Wars, and you definitely aren't, because we read them together when we do.
Oh my God. Deva and Avon hanging out. Deva's like, okay, kid, you need to know stuff.
You actually see Dave. I honestly think you see a nicer side of Deva in with this book, because normally you think of her just as this cruel kind of person, but she's really she's
not.
She's not. She has a lot of sides to her.
Yeah.
She's survivalist first, and I think that's why people get this idea that she's a bad person.
Yeah.
Which is honestly the takeaway we got initially, like especially with the War of the Bounty Hunters arc.
Especially with War of the Bounty Hunters being my first introduction to her, and seeing that horrific monster panel where she's eating a guy alive. By the way, she does that sometimes.
Yeah, she does that a few times in this book.
So this is like the 5th time I've seen her do
Yeah,
that.
because she appeared in... Yeah, because she also appeared in Phase 1 near the end. Because she was in the 3rd junior novel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
when they're on Dalna.
Yeah.
Because that's the tie-in, because that's how they met before. Because they mentioned that they met there and kind of try to catch you up in case you, for some reason, decided to hop in on Phase 3 and not read any of the other phases. Honestly, you only really need to read Phase 1 at the moment, although there is some Phase 2 stuff near the end of this book. Especially that epilogue.
So...
Well, we can talk about it when we get there.
Unless
you want to... I mean, we'll talk about it when we get there.
We'll talk about it when we get there. Meanwhile, Vern is like, I said, fuck it, I'm out for a little bit.
Yeah. She kind of goes on spiritual retreat.
Yeah.
To kind of, like, get her head in the right...
dead,
Yeah, she's trying to get...
Starlight has fallen. I don't know where the fuck Imri is.
She's trying to get her head in the right place.
Yeah.
And so she is inside the storm wall. Avon is also inside the storm wall because we saw at the end of Phase 1 that she got picked up.
Yep.
And so now she's with her mom. And she's like... Her mom apparently promised that she could go to Coruscant to go to school there, to university there. So that way she could study crystals, because that is where one of the bigger universities for crystal sciences, because that's where Galen went for Rogue One, Galen or so.
Deva has been assigned as like Avon's bodyguard.
Yeah, and so Avon, of course, still acting out against the Nihil every now and then whenever she gets the chance, which does not help her mom.
Kira's like, the fuck? Why are you doing this? And Avon's like,
because they are bad people.
That's why.
These are bad people.
Why are we here? Asks Avon, the most reasonable question of all time.
She's like, the Nihil are terrible people, except for Deva.
Yeah. And Kira's like, yeah.
She doesn't even have a comeback for it.
She's like, yeah, but you know what? You're still my daughter, and you're grounded.
And also, you might not be allowed to go to university anymore.
What?
Which really made Avon pissed off.
Yeah. She was like...
She's like, no, you promised that. We made a deal. You can't go back on that. And so instead she decides to run away.
Yeah.
First
attempt happens.
Yeah, so she goes to a dinner that she's forced to go to where Markion is at.
Yeah.
And I think this is my favorite.
Yeah,
which I think is honestly the most I think this is honestly my favorite scene that Markion's in so far, because it's the only scene he's in this book.
It's the only scene he's in this book at all.
And it's great. And it's basically Avon, after assassination attempt, Avon's like, hey, here's the head of that guy, tosses it onto the table, says everything she feels about the Nihil right there, just calls them all out.
Fuck you.
And then leaves, and she's like, I'm going to Coruscant whether you want me to or not. And she leaves. And then Markion just laughs, and it's great.
Yeah. She just, like, tosses the head of this would-be Nihil assassin at the dinner table.
And Markion laughs his ass off.
He's like,
I think it's because it's the chaos of it, and
yeah, he's like,
because we've talked about this anyways. In Eye of Darkness, we get the sense that Markion is bored.
yep.
Markion is bored.
He's like, I've done it. Now what?
Because that's the
I
problem.
beat the Republic. Now what?
Because the problem is the Nihil they're Vikings. They are raiders. They are anarchists. They don't do government.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Gira's like, let's make it a government. And now that it's a government, Markion is bored.
He's like, I hate this. This is boring to me. God damn it.
And so, because he's bored, we're seeing, like, whenever, like this, he's like, oh, this is entertaining. Finally, somebody's creating something interesting going on.
Yep.
That's how I read it anyways. That's my interpretation.
I read it as like, oh, that's one of the things that I kind of got the sense of. And the other one is, man, Gira, you can't fucking control your daughter.
Yeah, you can't.
Oh man, sucks to be you right now.
Can't keep your house in order. Yeah.
Because the one person you probably could trust just fucked off.
Yeah, because that's the thing. The other reason that Gira wants to keep Avon in line is she mentions it. I'm trying to keep this house in order because otherwise that risks more things for us if it looks like I can't.
Yep.
And so,
Anyone says, fuck you, and leaves.
part of that is that she knows. So the main reason she leaves is she finds out where Vern has been staying,
Mhm.
because she and Emery were taken together along with J6, and so she wants to go ahead and tell Vern, "Hey, Emery's alive."
Yeah. Emery's alive, and he's here in this section of the storm wall.
Yeah, he's on I forget the name of the planet now.
It's not. I think it's in Sezwina, but I have no...
It's in the Sezwina sector, and so
And it's not the water one from last week.
Anyways, so it's in the Sezwina sector, and so she's like, "Hey, I know he's alive, so let's go talk to Vern." And that's when we cut away to have Vern's perspective where she's doing her thing.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we also have the Graf perspective, which is
Xylan
with
is
Xylan.
like, man, fucking hate it here. I hate working on this goddamn station.
Yeah,
But my dog is here, so it's not...
Yeah, because he's working on helping keep the wall up.
Yeah.
Because he's essentially a prisoner.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically the situation is Gira got in trouble, but threw Xylan under the bus for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Xylan, in order to, like, not be killed, is like, I can keep your wall up because the person who designed it is dead.
Yep.
And because that's also the storyline we're working on, because we're gonna finally see some consequences for some stuff that happened in Phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's basically house arrest,
Yeah.
except on a ship.
They're like,
And
you can go anywhere you want on the ship. You just can't leave.
unless we
say it's...
Yeah. So, for example, they go to a party on Hosnian.
Yeah. Because Gira's got
Gira's
like a
hosting something.
home there.
Yeah.
A summer estate.
Because
or whatever.
Hosnian is essentially the second Coruscant. It's where the capital for the New Republic is set up. And, and later on, within the sequel era anyways. Because it's not in the Mandalorian era, I don't think. I think it's still Coruscant in Mandalorian era. Because they kind of decide that rather than just have one planet be the capital, they're going to rotate where the capital is in the New Republic. So that way you don't risk having you don't risk politicians getting too comfy in one planet. And that also makes it harder for, like... It's supposedly supposed to make it harder for corruption.
I don't think it would work that well.
Because the idea is that then, like,
Is
it's make the lobbying harder, because then the lobbyists have to move as well every time that they switch where it's at. And then they vote on where it's at, too. So it also gives the chance for also the Outer Rim to have...
is it biannual or annually?
I think it's every 4.
Okay, that's a little bit more reasonable, because I'm like...
I think it's every 4.
Every 4 years? That's not as bad, but I still
And
am
so it also
concerned.
gives the chance for the Outer Rim to have more of a voice,
Yeah.
because like Hosnian's in the Outer Rim, so it's the idea is like sometimes we're in the Outer Rim as the capital, so that gives.
Mm-hmm.
But so Hosnian is an Outer Rim world that they explain is in this book. They're like, in case you didn't know, it's very much like Coruscant. It's a city world, all that stuff, and so that's why Gira kind of has a setup there.
Yeah.
And
Also, Gira is from that sector,
Yeah.
so they're like, yeah, we know she's a member of the Nile, but we're also kind of fucked at the moment, so we're gonna keep her where she is.
so anyway, she's hosting a party to kind of like lighten the mood and also kind of play political games.
Yeah.
And so
And
Xylan is technically not invited, but he's invited.
Yeah.
And so he goes, and Gira's like, I did not expect you to actually show up.
Yeah, and he was like, yeah, well, fuck you. I need to talk with you.
Yeah, I need to tell you about how you screwed me over and be pissed about that.
Mhm.
And
And
so
they both have the conversation of like, man, we're fucked.
yeah, they basically go to like a bathroom essentially to go have this
Yeah,
conversation.
they're hanging out on like another betrayal balcony.
Meanwhile, because this is happening concurrently, although it's presented as two different chapters because we're changing point of views. Jordana Sparkburn and her girlfriend Silvestri Yarrow, who is the daughter of
One chance of Yarrow.
yeah,
And we'll get to that later.
because the main plot line of that is Silvestri going, I wonder how my mom died.
Yep. I know she's dead. I know it was on Starlight Beacon, but that's it.
Like, I don't know the specifics.
Mhm.
And so that's the main plot. And so Jordana and Silvestri are working for Maz, and at the time, who basically has hired them to pick up Xylan.
Pick up is a nice way of describing it. They're kidnapping him.
Yeah. To be fair,
That makes
Xylan's completely okay with this.
Yeah, he's like, I get to fucking leave. This is gonna be great.
Which it's funny because just as he gets to the party, he gets a tracker put on him.
Yeah.
But he like it's one that he can turn off and on, so it's like turned off at the time because his bodyguard / babysitter, they joke, is like, hey, if you get kidnapped or you leave, turn that on, and if you don't, it'll be worse when I do find you.
That's such a parent thing to say.
Yeah, it's like when you have like one of those like family tracking like on your phone, like when you have like when you're younger
Yeah.
and your parents are like, "Hey, it's okay for you to have your phone. It's okay for you to go out. Just turn on the Life 360 so I know where you're at." Just so I know you're safe. Or have your Snapchat map on if you're on.
What were you at a nightclub, son? Doesn't matter, Dad. It doesn't matter.
At least you know where I was. And so he does, in fact, we get like, because we see Jordana's perspective as he's leaving
Yeah.
the balcony conversation, because he's pissed when he's leaving, and he's like, God, and he's more mad at Gira than he was
Like,
before.
The point is, like, everyone on the Nihil knows that Xylan and Gira do not like each other.
So putting them in the same room is hilarious to them.
Yeah, they're like, okay, we don't have to like each other, but we still have to, like, get this shit done.
We have to outplay the Nihil.
Yeah, because it's not sustainable. And so they're like, well, it would be weird if we started acting buddy-buddy, so we still have to be upset with each other. And they're both like, that's gonna be easy, because fuck you.
And so they leave, and Jordana and Silvestri go ahead and kidnap him then and there.
Jordana, like, breaks a glass and makes, like, a little ship.
And so they kidnap him,
Yep.
bring him on the ship. He's like, cool.
Oh,
I'm
great.
actually in charge, though.
Yeah, because he's like, this is my ship. I made it.
So he's like, all right, we're going to go here. And so they decide like they're going to go meet their like contact. And they see, and so he silently turns on his little tracking beacon.
Yeah, like when he was fiddling with it outside of the building house, my brain went, you motherfucker.
And
I know what you did.
so a Nihil ship shows up, and he's like, hey, that's my babysitter. Let me do the talking.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they shoot it down.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious.
Yeah. Xylan's like, I know that there's like a bunch of secret panels all over the walls. All because I made this fucking ship. It's my ship. And Sylvester's like, no, it's not. It's mine. You gave it to me. After you tried to assassinate me.
He's like, let bygones be bygones.
Yeah.
Honestly, Xylan is very much like, very in the moment. He's very in the moment. He's like, whatever in the moment works. I don't care about the past. We could have been enemies in the past, but what really matters is living now.
He's like, yeah. Also, my grandma sucks.
Yeah, he's also like the least Graf
Mm-hmm.
that we've had.
Yeah.
And he's very much like he was more of a Graf in the first appearance. I remember that. Like as we were going, like I was like, I forget who like you and I both forgot Xylan for a moment, and then we were like, oh, he's that motherfucker. Meanwhile, Vern does get picked up by Avon and Deva, and they go to meet because Deva is also working with with Jordana and them because she's in on the whole plan, and so she's like, hey, I gotta go meet these people. Also, this will benefit us because the guy that we're going to get will have a way for us to get outside of the storm wall when it's time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is why everybody's after Xylan because he has the keys essentially to get out.
Yeah, doesn't have a lot of them. He's got like a limited number.
Yeah, and so he's got the way out, so that's why everybody's like, we need to get this fucker.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because right now, so, timeline-wise, this is after everything else we've read so far, because the last book was actually concurrent with Eye of Darkness, so, because we talked about how, like, Avar hadn't gotten out yet.
Mm-hmm.
This book, they talk about Avar has already...
Avar's gotten out, and Pratri Vader is dead.
Yeah, those were the big things that told me when we were, because I was like, oh, Pratri Vader's dead? Okay, we're at least during the events of Eye of Darkness. And then they say Avar got out, and I'm like, oh, we are after Eye of Darkness then, because that's the end of the book. so that kind of gives us a timeline.
Just a slight detail of how, like, Avon and Deva figured out where Vern is. Avon went to the temple, to the Jedi temple, on, like, a school field trip, and just started lying to people.
Yeah, because she,
Also, she has changed her last name from Staros to Sunvel. That's a
that's a little bit Sunvel, which is a recurring name I think for Staros family to use as a cover name. So she uses that, and because obviously you do not want to tell people, hey, I'm Avon Staros, daughter of Gira Staros,
you know, traitor to everyone.
Traitor of the Republic.
Yep. And
so she meets our boy Reith.
Yeah, Reith is like...
He's like slammed because that man is doing so much research right now.
Bro is busy.
Because basically he's got pulled to research duty, which normally I think in a normal circumstance Reith would be thrilled about.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, this research involves him talking to a crazy guy.
And also looking into like some pretty fucked up stuff, like because of the Force Eaters and the Nameless, because they kind of rename like what they're calling the Nameless. They just call them the Force Eaters.
Yeah. Like Force Eaters, Nameless, Shrikarakai.
Yeah. So
Levelers. Yeah. Depending on how you want to call them.
Force Eaters tends to be the common name in this book.
Yeah.
But those tend to be a kind of a subspecies of the Nameless, because they're like
the Nameless is like the big one.
Yeah.
Force Eaters are like the small. Force Eaters are the type of enemy.
Yeah.
Nameless is like the unique variation.
And other way. I'd say Nameless is like what they are as an amalgamation. Force Eater is like a subtype of the Nameless, and then the Leveler is like a boss type.
Yeah, that's more accurate
because the Leveler was a specific Nameless.
It is a very old Nameless.
It is the one that's from Phase 2. And it was still alive by the time Markion came about.
is still alive, I think.
Yeah,
We'll get to that later.
Because I think it's the mama nameless, essentially. I think it's the one kind of making the eggs at this point, because obviously they have to have eggs to keep making them. Otherwise, they got to keep going to Planet X to make more, which I think they've stopped doing. I think they're... Because we learned that, like, what's his name? The scientist.
Baron Bulin.
Bulin, yeah. Bulin's whole thing is, like, trying to create... I mean, we learned that in the last book that we read. The scientists are trying to, like, create subclasses, essentially, of them to kind of make them more powerful and more deadly. Which that is something we find out more about. And how there might be a big problem one. That maybe they did successfully make a bigger problem. But that's not...
We'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah. So, anyways, they are... Yeah,
Wreath is like, here's her last known location from what we got.
Because originally she lied to him, and he saw the pop-up of, oh, you know, why are you looking into Vern?
Yeah.
And she's like, you know Vern? And he's like, yeah, we're best friends.
Yeah, she's a friend of mine.
Even though Wreath has no riz whatsoever, but he definitely likes her. At least in the last time that... Because Emery read that off of him.
Yeah. Emery is out here like, he can't stop touching things with the Force. He just is like that.
He's like, hey, you like my master?
Emery has no filter. Of any kind.
I think he's got, because we do meet him in this book.
Yeah.
I think he's grown a lot, and I'm happy.
I would hope that he has grown a lot, considering the circumstances.
And I like where he's at as a character. We can jump ahead in a little bit, because not too much really happens between here and there. Because the next big stuff is basically kind of just glancing over real quick. They meet up. Deva manages to convince everybody, hey, we're good. Because even though I also have a Nihil ship, we're not with those Nihils you just blew up.
Yeah. And Jordana's like, you need to stay here, and I need to go and talk to my family who's on the other side of the storm wall.
Yeah.
And I can find out more information about your mom from, like, Avon.
Yeah, because they meet on the outside of the storm wall, right? Yeah, because they're outside the storm wall when they meet. And because they're like, we need to go back in because we got to get Emery. But Sylvester, you stay with the ship and with the dog, and then we'll go. And so...
and Deva kills the guy who's tracking Xylan.
Yeah.
In, like, a chapter. That problem was resolved so quickly.
Pretty quickly, yeah.
Yeah.
So, they all go back.
They already have enough problems.
So everybody else goes back across.
Yep.
They kind of split into, like, two groups. For the rest of the book, with like half of them investigating what happened with
So Xylan and Jordana are on one side, and Vern, Deva, and Avon are on another, for a little bit.
But all within like the storm, like because they are doing different things within the storm wall. So like Jordana and Xylan, are looking into the how to get out. How to get more people out, and then also what happened to Starlight Beacon. Like what happened to Chansey. Because
for what it's worth, important to mention, Jordana is a Santeca cousin. She's looking to get her cousins across. Xylan is a Graf.
Yeah, because her cousins are on Naboo, which is behind the wall.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And so... Which we knew the Santecas lived on Naboo because
Naboo is the main family. That's the one.
Yeah, because they've gotten richer.
They're fine. They're doing okay.
Yeah. So trying to get the other ones that are inside the wall too.
Yeah, and Xylan meets with an info broker, sets Jordana up with him to fuck with her.
Yeah.
Because he can do that, and he's got the time.
I'm kind of just trying to highlight the main stuff though. So like I guess main stuff, they find out that Nan has the information they want. Because I think Xylan kind of already sort of knew that Nan had that information, but he didn't, like, he's never talked to her about it because he was like, I didn't need that information.
He's like, why would I care?
But he's like, I will help you get that information. As they're doing the Santeca stuff, they learn that about this world that is plagued.
Yeah, they don't learn about it. They go there.
Well, that is learning about it though, because they.
And the reason why that's important is because that's where all of Jordana's cousins are. And she's like, hey, how long has this been going on? And they're like, about a month. Everything's kind of broken and fucked.
Yeah, they don't call it a plague. They called it something else.
Yeah.
But
desiccation is what they use.
yeah. And so, but it's essentially a plague sort of thing where if you're even in the same room as somebody else who's got it, boom, done. You're done for. Which is important because our main Santeca boy, Care, gets it.
Yep.
And it shows up on his hand first.
Yeah, and he goes, oh, shit.
Because it kind of like, it's exactly what you think if you're following the story of what's going on in High Republic. It's a dusting, and so it kind of looks like the husk stuff going down his hand, which, of course, is kind of a setup for that Phase 2 gave us, because Phase 2 kind of set us up with that, with the mother, and how she was slowly...
Fucking Alicia.
Yeah, because Alicia was slowly getting infected as well, even though...
Alicia was a, like, heavy force user, though, so for her, it...
But also she was in control
She
of
was
them.
also constantly around them. But she had, like, the rod to keep her somewhat protected. The thing that surprised me is, like,
now
Care, as far as I'm aware,
so
is a standard person.
Well, and I think the epilogue kind of addresses that question, and I'll kind of talk about more about that, because I think the epilogue addresses like how this is happening to this degree, but essentially, they do a Walking Dead. They cut it off before it can spread, and then they put it in a box. What's in the box?
Yeah.
It's a Santeca's hand.
An ironic thing is that Avon actually uses a very similar threat on Xylan. So she catches Xylan lacking. and so she's like, by the way, I've put this fucking bracelet on your wrist, and if you don't do what I tell you, it's gonna cut off your hand.
Xylan's just like,
alright.
I've already witnessed
Didn't need
that.
to do this, but sure.
Yeah. And so...
And he's also kind of wondering, like, so is it gonna be like a laser sever, or is my hand gonna, like, crystallize and just explode into shards?
Important thing on the Avon side quest, as they're trying
Avon
to
is not
murder somebody.
fucking around anymore. She is mad.
So she murders somebody. Because so basically she's got this, like, wrist dart thing that most of them are supposed to just knock you out.
Yeah.
But she also has some that were given to her by Deva that straight up kill you. Because they have the toxins of Deva's race on them.
Yeah.
And so she uses it on somebody by accident because she thinks it's the knockout one.
Yeah.
And it kills them. And Avon does not take that well.
Which is a good sign.
Shows that she's still a good person, because her and Vern are kind of like... Vern's watching her and she's like, you've changed. Because Avon's kind of toughened up on like... It's the hardened type resolve sort of deal where, like, because she's been around such terrible people, she's had to kind of harden herself. And so Vern is kind of concerned about that, because Vern's like, that's not the Avon I know. But Avon, like, I think by the end of it, Avon does balance herself back out.
Yeah.
Because she is not happy that she killed somebody.
No.
She's like, I do not like that I did that.
Vern starts getting concerned the first time because she sees, like, there's an old woman knocked out while Avon is, like, putting in a FaceTime call or something.
Yeah, because the old woman tried to haggle, but also was, like, price gouging it. And Avon's like, no, we're not playing that game.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah, and the next time Avon uses the dart launcher is on Clineth Da. That's
which is the person that she
murdered.
kills, yeah.
I'm like, you had a name and then you died 3 seconds afterwards.
But yeah, Vern does not witness that one.
No, she doesn't.
But Deva does, and is like...
Deva doesn't.
Or no, but they talk about it.
Deva and Vern...
Or Avon.
Vern and Avon talk about it later. Deva,
well, I thought Deva knows about it because
Deva knows that, like, Deva gave her the poison, but
okay.
she does not know that she, like, murdered Clineth Da with it.
Okay. I thought they talked about it because I thought I remembered Deva going, like mentioning that, hey, this is just the way things are, sort of deal.
Also, Deva throughout like the entire thing is like, man, the one thing about Jedi is they can't keep a low profile for fucking anything.
Yeah, I mean, Vern, I feel like for the most part has kept a pretty like, I mean, beforehand,
when she was by herself and didn't know what the fuck was going on, that's not what I would do.
Yeah, I would say like because she wasn't like going around going I'm a Jedi, you know, either. But she does try to save somebody because Dave is like, hey, don't save that person. We gotta move.
It's that like
it's the Jedi. Hey, I should help somebody because they're in trouble.
And it's the thing about
it's the Creo.
Like even it's Inquisitors. Where
Oh
they're
yeah,
like,
from
how do you
Kenobi-
catch a
from
Jedi?
Obi-Wan,
Yeah, how do you catch a Jedi? Oh, you just let them do Jedi shit all the time because they
can't
reveal
help themselves.
Yeah,
they can't help but do the right thing.
And Deva, who is not a Jedi, is like, don't do that.
She does it anyways.
She does it anyway, and it's like, fuck, now I have to kill people because you couldn't.
And at the same time, Vern kind of like understands that what Dave is doing is protecting her. So she like at first is upset, but then quickly is like, I understand what she's doing.
Yep.
We have to do this. This is a necessity. This isn't a like Vern would prefer not to have to kill people. But she's like, we're in a necessary situation where...
Vernestra Rowe, master of stealth.
I think Vern also, though, has learned to kind of... Because her journey is kind of being less strict on the rules. Because, like... I mean, she was Prime Jedi. Like, she like, when we first meet her in phase 1, she is almost the, like, example of Jedi. To a degree, with a couple secrets here or there, like her light whip.
Yeah.
But for the most part, she's very strict on the code and following it because of who her master was.
Yep.
Because Stellan was also that way. But also, I think as she evolved, she's learned I don't need to be as strict on the code because otherwise I would have gone back to Coruscant. And then, like, she's kind of accepted that she's kind of doing the way seeker sort of thing. Unofficially.
She did not leave like an official notice.
Yeah, she's like, hey, I'm requesting Wayseeker, which is traditionally how you get that position in the High Republic era. You petition to the council thinks on it, and then they usually will say yes, unless there's like a very extenuating circumstance of why they shouldn't. Like, Elzar would not be making Wayseeker.
No.
If he ever requested it. But Vern is, I feel like, if she just, even after all this, because by the end of it, they're like, yeah, you're good. We don't like that you did all this without asking us. But you came back to us, you reported. I'm skipping ahead a bit. You came back, you reported on it. We're good.
Yep.
She even finally tells the truth about the light whip, which does have a couple council members like...
I'm like, alright, man, bigger fish to fry, who fucking cares?
Yeah. Because she's yet to really show any dark intentions.
Yeah.
And
I also just don't care.
It's like, Yoda, you definitely can't be given any sass considering who you brought into the temple, which we will talk about. But yeah, so they end up finding Emery. Kind of skipping ahead now.
Yeah.
Because we
they
got
find J6 and then they find Emery.
Yeah, they find J6 first, and J6 is like, yeah, Emery's probably not going to want to leave.
Yeah. And she's like, well, I'll talk with him about it, see how it goes.
Because it turns out Emery's basically leading, like, the resistance out here.
Yeah.
He's kind of found himself in a leader position where he's kind of, like, in charge of keeping the resistance on the Nihil while they're out here and making sure people are cared for on the Nihil front.
Yep.
Oh, big piece of information we do learn. Somebody's still alive from the end of Eye of Darkness.
Trying to remember Dr. Campa.
General Weiss.
General Weiss, yes, she's still alive.
Yeah, big piece of information that's thrown into this book, by the way. it's
General Weiss is mad.
It's also kind of like just thrown there. Like it's just like, yeah, General Weiss is still alive, and you're just like, excuse me. You're just gonna throw this out to me? You're just gonna tell me this so nonchalantly?
Yeah.
It's very nonchalant.
General Weiss is alive and she's upset because no one is doing what they need to do.
It's very nonchalant though the way this information's given. Like they're just like.
But it's also from Xylan's perspective, and he's like, "Why would I care?"
Yeah.
I like Xylan. He's a scumbag, but he's a
lovable
scumbag.
Yeah, he's a lovable scumbag. He's very Han Solo.
Yeah.
He's got that Han Solo kind of thing going. Not quite a smuggler, but not quite, you know. So, it's fun. Honestly, all the characters in this book.
Which, if Vice is alive, you know who else is probably alive? Because you can't rule of 3 at this point.
Well, also, I think that's what because we're going to get another Blade comic, because we already know about it. And so I think that's going to be where we finally get the last showdown between them.
General Weiss is she's so bad.
I want that to be where we get the last showdown, and also some payoff to what is going on with. I want to know what happens to Bresh. Because we don't know. Also,
Porter's got to call in.
You know who else has still not shown up
Porter's got to call in Bresh for an assist.
You know who still hasn't shown up in the High Republic though, and would be around during this era? Plo Koon.
Oh.
Because he is a long-lived species too.
Yeah. That's not who I was thinking about.
Plo Koon has yet to show up in the High Republic. Every other long-lived character has shown up. That, like, from the prequel era, has been in the High Republic era. But not motherfucking Plo Koon.
He's somewhere. Probably.
Where is Plo?
You know, I don't know where Plo Koon is. You want to know who I want to know where they are?
Who?
Where the fuck is Des Ryden?
Where is Des?
I know he's, like, taking
he took his Bresh vow.
He took his vow. But where the fuck is he?
Him and actual Bresh are kind of hanging out somewhere. Along with Plo Koon.
Yeah, they're all just like running a team shop or something.
They're like, we ain't messing with this Nihil shit.
They're like, well, whatever. Not my problem anymore.
I took a vow to not get involved.
Yep. Somebody else's problem now. There's like, there were these weird...
They all went to Scarif to go on a vacation.
There were these weird plant things, and I, like, it nearly killed my not brother.
So...
I got some mad drugs and dark side. Quite literally.
And once again, I don't think Des really needed to take it, but...
Des is somewhere out there.
I feel bad for Des, because it's like, you didn't really mess up that bad.
Yeah.
There are way worse people that have...
Like, that's not your fault.
If anything, Elzar needs to take a Bresh vow.
Okay.
Elzar needs a Bresh vow. He needs to get away. Because every time that man steps in... And this is somebody who defends Elzar as a character, because I think Elzar is what Anakin, on a good day, would be. Like, Elzar is what Anakin should be if Anakin was trying to be better and actually taking accountability. Although Elzar still has some he's still not accountable and everything. This book talks about that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, circling back to the main plot, I just wanted to throw the General Weiss thing out because that's a major revelation. That once again they kind of just hand toss you. So that's why I was like, oh yeah, we should say that before the next wave of books comes out and we see the consequences of that. So they go ahead and Vern talks to Emery. Emery's like, I'm where I belong. This is what I'm meant to do. And Emery can actually see how much he's grown. Like, she's really proud of him.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to... Honestly, it's a great moment.
Yeah.
And Emery finally gets knighted.
Yeah. There were a couple of moments where I will admit I got misty-eyed in this book a few times.
Was Emery getting knighted one of them?
Emery getting knighted was one of them.
It's a good moment. It's a good moment. And it's even more mad, like it's even greater because of the whole
I do.
her thinking back on Stellan during that.
I also do like how Emery's like, "Are you allowed to do that?" And Vern's like, "Yeah, well, I did it anyway."
Oh, before that,
Mm.
let's go back. Let's go back to because I did write that happened in chapter 20, and Emery getting knighted is chapter 30.
Oh yeah.
Chapter 20, meanwhile, on the side quest of figuring out what's going on with the escaping and also what happened on Starlight, Nan tells Xylan
Yeah.
privately.
Because Xylan is like, okay, here you go, Avon. Here's like a bunch of codes to try and figure out what the Stormwall does.
And meanwhile,
How it works.
he talks to Nan and gets a recording of what happened. Like, Nan giving a report, essentially, of what happened.
And she's like, yeah, some Jedi bisected her while we were trying to.
And they're like, "Do you know who that was?" And she's like, "The guy on all the hollows," which is Elzar, because Elzar's working really closely with Chancellor Lena So, with Chancellor So. So of course he's on all the holograms because he basically took the place of Stellan as like kind of the main person to talk to for the Jedi,
because Avar was gone at the time.
And so, and Yoda kind of was also busy at the time.
Yeah.
And we know what happened to Pre-Veter.
Yeah. All of their leadership was gone but Elzar's, so it just kind of defaulted to him. And much like usual, the council was no help.
And so Xylan's like, interesting.
All right.
So I typed, "The cat is out of the bag. The cat is out of the bag."
I'm like, all right. It was gonna happen.
It was gonna happen, but it is interesting to see this moment happening because it's like, how are people going to react? Because they don't do a big thing. Although I have a feeling it's gonna happen in Wave 2.
Oh yeah.
I have a feeling in Wave 2 everyone's gonna find out. Because at the end of this book, not everybody finds out.
Yeah.
Xylan finds out. He gives the information to...
Xylan finds out, doesn't care.
Yeah, he's like, "It's not relevant to me, but this is what Jordana and Silvestri want." So he hands it to Jordana, is like, "Hey..."
Not Jordana.
Or, Avon. No, Avon. And he says, "Hey, watch this in front of your Jedi friend."
Yeah.
Because this is gonna... They're gonna want to see that, too. And so, Avon's like, "Okay?"
Yep.
Like, she's, like, confused.
Like, alright, thanks.
And so...
And she's like, "Oh, why did you make a second copy of the codes?" And he's like,
just in case.
Just in case. She's like, "You were gonna sell them, weren't you?" And he goes, "Yeah. I'm a businessman. This is what I do."
I wonder if I don't think he'll be the one to release the information. I think it's going to accidentally get out.
Probably.
That's what I think. I think it's going to be accidentally gets out, leaked to the public.
Oh, do you mean...
Like, for the public
Elzar
finding
thing,
out, yeah. For Elzar.
Oh, I don't... Yeah, they'll probably figure that shit out on their own. I don't even think they need it to get leaked.
Well, I think it's gonna affect things majorly if it's kind of the situation in a book that we'll talk about way down the line when the public finds out that Anakin was Vader and that Leia is Vader's daughter. Like, it was big bad thing, because it was like, how can we trust Leia if she is the daughter of one of the worst people in history, right? And so I feel like this is going to be a situation of how do we trust the Jedi when they've got people like Elzar, who's the face of the Jedi right now. Because that's the big thing. Like, if it was like some nobody Jedi, I don't think the public would give a shit.
Yep.
But it is the face of the Jedi, who is working really closely with the Republic. And also made one of the biggest boo-boos ever that could have happened. So...
The general sense is like
almost a Who Watches the Watchmen sort of deal.
No.
But like,
what I was going to say,
yeah,
is like, it's a case of like, man, I get it, but you could have waited like 5 more seconds.
Yeah, like, I understand Elzar's position to a degree. It kind of sucks that, you know, he's let his anger get the best of him twice now. Uh, we'll talk about that scene. We're not there yet. But yeah, so anyways, all this information is given out. We learned a few interesting things. Santeca and Graf are married
Oh yeah.
for tax purposes, essentially. They're like, for tax purposes. Although they are like actually really good friends, and they kind of have like almost a bro code thing going on where they're like, yeah, we don't mind each other. We're roommates and we're cool.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
I actually like it. I like their relationship a lot. Because it's even funnier because he does not know about the hand thing.
No, he doesn't.
And Jordana is like, am I going to tell him about that? And he's like, oh, don't worry. He'll find out about it later.
Yeah.
Because Jordana doesn't know that right away that they're married. And, although she puts two and two together later. But when she's talking to her cousin about it, he's like, don't worry, he'll find out. Just, you don't have to share that. And that's because when he decides to go home,
Yeah.
he goes back home to be like, oh, are you okay? He's like, it hurt, but I'm good.
Yep. It hurt about 9 hours ago. Doesn't right now.
They also have a nice doggy.
Mm-hmm.
A little snow wolf.
That's Plinka and its islands.
Yeah, his islands, yeah. Plinka, I like
Yeah.
all the dogs in the High Republic,
Like,
man.
the only thing that stops Avon from fucking blowing up the lightning crash is that Xylan's dog is on there.
Avon's like, I ain't hurting no dog.
Yeah.
Avon, same.
Xylan is like, is there anyone on this station who deserves mercy? And she's like,
Fair
your
enough.
dog.
Yeah,
Your dog is the one that deserves mercy. And
But he
I'm
was like trying to point out the fact that like, hey, you're just as guilty as me.
Hmm.
And it's just like, Avon's like,
are you trying to murder Dr. M. Campa? That'd be really rude. She's like about to hit Dr. M. Campa with a pipe when he walks in.
well, also the other thing that stops her, and she talks about it later, is her guilt from earlier, from the accidental murder.
Yeah. Big whoops.
Although
She does try. She nearly succeeds with Dr. M. Campa.
yeah, and she basically stops because she's like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And of course then she's like fighting herself on it of like whether or not that was the right thing to not do it.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, they establish a pathway out. And Xylan, of course, stays behind. He's like, I'm gonna give the codes to Santeca, and that way we can set up a way to get refugees out. And work with Emery to do that if we have to.
Important information. Avon and the rest of the group learn about the kill zones.
Yes. They also learned that Chansey was the one that developed the Stormwall technology.
Yes, that too.
That's a major thing, which Silvestri kind of doesn't take entirely well. But
No, alongside the fact that her mom got murdered by a Jedi.
yeah,
So, not a good day for Silvestri Yarrow.
yeah, she's kind of like, hey, I don't want to work with Jedi anymore unless we have to. She's like, I don't hold it against them as a whole, but I would just prefer for a while not to. Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Being
Being around Jedi is a dangerous thing.
and then of course Vern takes it upon herself to be like, hey, I'm gonna make sure that Elzar's held accountable.
Yeah.
I thought she was gonna tell the council. Actually,
I was like
half expecting that when she does. So we're jumping ahead a bit. We're jumping towards the end. So basically, they get out. Vern decides to go report to the Jedi. Avon's kind of continuing her life as a scientist and kind of working with Republic scientists to kind of develop crystal technology as well as like more figuring out Nihil tech.
Yeah.
So that way they can.
how do we get past this fucking bullshit?
Yeah. And honestly, she's actually really well accepted in the community. At first they don't. At first they're like,
who is this kid? And then they're like, all right, the kid knows what they're doing.
yeah, because at first they're like, who's this kid that's trying to show us up? And then she actually does legitimately show them up, and they're like, she's actually pretty smart. Okay.
Okay, cool.
And she also, like, Vern invites her to hang out with Reith because Reith was impressed with her as well.
And Vern's like, Avon has a crush on Wreath, and
Maybe has a crush on me.
Wreath has
He has
is
a bunch
doing-
of crushes.
Wreath is around.
Yeah, Wreath is complicated.
Wreath is like, I have to go talk to the fucking crazy uncle Grandpa brought home.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's also not focused on his crushes anymore. Like phase
Wreath
one,
is like, priorities shifted after Nan. He's like, I know better.
and so she goes to talk to the council, report in. She tells them the whole story except for the Elzar part.
Yep.
Which I was surprised. I thought she was gonna give the Elzar part, but
I was like, that would make this too easy.
it also would have made it very interesting though, because I think it would have resulted much differently. Instead, she has a private discussion with Elzar, who has taken Stellan's office, by the way, which she is not happy about. She also doesn't like Elzar to begin with. We learned because we didn't really up to this point really know her feelings about Elzar as a person.
Hey, what? I know you used to hang around like with
My dad.
my dad and my not mom, but I don't fucking care.
Yeah, you were my dad's friend. You're not my friend.
She also notices that like Stellan's lightsaber is still over there, and she's like, I don't care, which is a weird thing for my brain.
Yeah, like she's more upset that he took the office than the rest of the stuff.
Yeah,
and so she confronts him essentially and is like, she shows him the video of Nan telling the story.
Yeah,
and oh boy, Elzar feels guilty.
He's like, yeah, not my best moment.
And he actually kind of mutters that he's about to having it be the second time he let his anger get the best of him, which of course, Rising Storm, the fair.
Okay.
And
the fair was a very different situation.
And she's like, what? And he's like, never mind. Not important.
Doesn't matter. Vern is like, all right, I'm gonna give you a week to turn yourself in.
Yeah,
essentially,
she's like, because that's what Stellan would do. Stellan would let you have the chance to do the right thing.
And Vern's not Vern. Elzar's like, am
Yeah.
I a bad Jedi?
Well, he goes, yeah, first about that. And she's like, is he saying, yeah, that Stellan would do that? Or, yeah, he should turn himself in? And then he asks, yeah, he's like, am I ever going to be as good as Stellan? And
Vern's internal thought is, no.
You are always going to be third amongst that friend group, even
like,
with Stellan dead.
It's like,
but
right.
She's like, that's
don't say that.
She's like, that's an internal thought.
Yep.
That's
instinctive reactions are not always the best.
Sometimes internal thoughts should stay internal, is what she goes with. And she's like,
you're trying.
You're trying.
That's about it.
You're trying, and that's important, is what she goes with. Which, yeah. And so, I think it's still gonna. I think it's gonna get out to the public somehow. I don't think it's gonna be on purpose. I think it's gonna.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because I feel like it was gonna get out on purpose. I feel like the Nihil would have already done it. Because they have this information. Because Nan reported to them. That's how they have the recording. Yeah. And so I would think that this information, I would think this would have already been made public by the Nihil. Because Markion would have loved using this against the Jedi if he had this information. I don't think Markion actually has this information.
He doesn't.
So
only Nan does, because she's the only one of them that was...
Although now Gira does as well, too, because I think she wasn't there when...
No, Gira was not there. It was only the 4 people that were there during that time when Elzar killed...
Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about during when Nan's telling the story.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, essentially Xylan made a direct call.
Okay. So then, yeah, okay. So just Nan. And Nan really has no reason to give that information.
Nan doesn't care.
Because she doesn't care. Like
Xylan doesn't care.
Yeah. Because Nan is...
Chancellero is dead. Stellan is dead. Elzar is the only person that was there.
And he's only probably going to tell the council if he tells anybody.
And Vern and Avon know as well.
And the council isn't going to tell the public because they're going to pull some prequel stuff where they know that if they... Once again, if this information becomes public, then the public loses trust in the Jedi,
if they do that, like, narratively, right?
Yeah.
Like, the authors. You know who just got back? Avar Kriss, new face for the Jedi. Oh man, don't you guys remember the Marshal of Starlight Beacon? She's ready for a comeback tour.
The problem is what happens first. Do they promote Avar to the face, or does Elzar's information get leaked first? Because that's going to make the difference, is what happens first.
Yeah.
And I don't think Avar's ready to be the face of the Jedi yet.
No.
So I don't think she's gonna. I don't think they're immediately gonna make her the face. Because if anything, she might be offered it, but I think she's gonna turn it down.
Yeah.
Because I don't think she's ready for that. Because she's still kind of in her.
They're gonna offer it. She's gonna turn it down.
Elzar's
gonna get exposed, and then Avar is gonna have to do it anyway.
To kind of help, like, brush it aside. But that's not gonna make it better because it's still gonna be a situation of most of the public still gonna be pissed.
Yep.
Because there were civilians on. It wasn't just the Republic forces. It wasn't just the Jedi. There were civilians on Starlight. So that's the big issue.
That's the big one.
And so I am intrigued with what what Wave 2 for Phase 3 is going to have to offer. Because I feel like we've got the setup now for Phase 3. Now we're going to hit the where the shit really hits the fan for this phase. And then we're going to get to the conclusion in Wave 3. So Wave 2 is going to be shit hits the fan. Because we really haven't had a shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
Because Wave 1 is essentially just establishing Phase 3. It's very much, okay, what have our heroes been up to since last time? And what kind of progress are they making towards resolving the situation?
Like, the Jedi are all pretty down. Jedi and the Republic down.
I'd say they've made a lot of progress, though, at the same time. Like, they are moving forward.
They're moving forward, but it's going to take a bit.
Yeah. They're not moving fast, but they're moving forward. Let's talk about the epilogue. So, after all this conclusion of everybody kind of doing their thing, we find out what Reith has been up to.
Yep.
He has been talking to Old Man Aslan Rail, who we haven't talked about what he's been up to yet, but he survived since the events of Phase 2, where he went mad at the end of the Edge of Balance manga for Phase 2. Yoda brought him to the temple. And this is some stuff in the comics that we haven't gone over yet. I've read some of them. I'm not up to date entirely. We'll be going over them once the trade paperback comes out like we normally do. Even though all 4 issues of that comic that had Aslan are out. But we like to wait for the trade. And so Aslan promised to help look into the Nameless.
You don't realize it, but you just made a very funny joke. Can't see.
Yeah.
He
Can't see.
He can't look at nothing. What do you mean, look at the Nameless? He did that once, and now he's the poor bastard.
He's got no eyes.
He's got no eyes.
Reith immediately felt dark side off of him as soon as he was in the temple, by the way.
Reith is like, I don't fucking like this guy.
What is Yoda doing with that man? What's Grandpa doing with that crazy old hermit?
Yeah.
And so, crazy old hermit takes Yoda on an expedition where he ends up bombing a city because basically he wants to draw out he's like, we gotta draw out the Nameless.
Here's how you do it.
Obviously, we didn't know like what happened, like unless some other comics explain it that I haven't read yet. I did not know what happened like from that point. What happens afterwards? Apparently, Yoda managed to arrest him along with the other Jedi, and he's being held prisoner because Aslan
it's another you're a prisoner, but not
really.
quite.
Yeah, because Reith kind of makes it clear that like, yeah, he's in a cell, but he's like not really being restrained. And it's mostly because he does want to help us, but he's doing it in a really fucked up way.
Yeah. It's like, Grandpa, how come I have to talk to the war criminal? That's the kind of vibe I'm like.
Except he doesn't have to. He's choosing to.
Yeah, he's like, I have to because circumstances are forcing me.
Because like the it's weird because the council gave him permission to do it, but they're not like ordering him to do it.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I think this guy might have what I need, and the council's like, okay, just be careful.
It's like, well, we need someone to look into this, and you're volunteering, so I guess it's okay.
Just know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And so he's been given the hand of Santeca because Vern gives it to him. And so he basically talks about it, and he's like, so apparently there's a new thing going on
Yeah.
where an entire world is getting eaten now, and they talk about like how that works. So they answer your confusion on it in that discussion. Everything has the Force in it.
Yeah.
So everything has the possibility of being eaten by these things. They just haven't been powerful enough to do that yet.
Yeah.
So that's the answer to your question of like, how is this happening? Because even like the rocks.
That was my initial confusion.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of pieced that together last night.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was like, oh, right, because it's in everything.
Yeah, because they say that.
And
yeah.
up until now...
They outright say that. They're like,
up
yeah.
until now, it just hasn't been powerful enough.
Yeah, because...
Which me, and I thought about it, and also, I'm pretty sure that, like...
I don't think it's the Leveler specifically doing this. I think they've created a new...
It's either the Leveler or, like, a more advanced species from...
Boolin's experiments. Yeah.
Also, Avon and Deva... Avon's been seeing weird ghost visions from Mari Santeca.
Yeah, and Vern's having some vision.
Vern,
you mean Vern?
sorry,
yeah,
not
Vern.
Avon.
Vern's the one with the space visions, which she actually did tell the Jedi Council about.
Yeah, she's like, I've been having... There's a weird lady. She gave me some coordinates. I talked with an eye.
Yeah, so she gets the path coordinates, which are very important, because...
I was thinking about it, and I'm like, where would... Oh. In my initial thought was probably Planet X.
Yeah, it's probably for Planet X, as well as... Well, No Space has kind of been abandoned at this point, so it wouldn't be for No Space, so yeah, it'd have to be Planet X.
Yeah.
Which would be the most important coordinates for you to get, because then you can investigate some stuff. So, yeah.
So that's what I figure they are. I could be wrong.
So, but yeah, Aslan's like, oh, so we've had these discussions, and you've been calling them Force Eaters, which I guess is more accurate, because they're not Jedi Eaters. They eat anything that has the Force. And since the Force is in all things, I think you can come to the conclusion of why this non-Jedi was starting to get husked. And then he starts laughing.
Yeah, and then he just starts laughing. And
'Cause
he's like, they're coming.
And he's like, but who?
And Reef is like, who? You have to tell me. He's
And then
like shaking.
And then the book ends.
And
Which is so frustrating, but so good.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a good cliffhanger.
I think I got mad.
You're like, I need at least 5 more sentences.
Yeah, I was like, don't play the pronoun game with me right now, fucker. Who, what, where, and why?
I love this book. This book is great.
I'm thinking Reef is like just getting pissed off all the time, and I wouldn't blame him.
So, I'm gonna give it a 9.
Yeah, I will give it
a solid
9 because this is a...
Once again, Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland just...
It's a very busy book, but it's busy in a fun way.
Yeah,
like if you can get
it's kind of the opposite of why we don't like which one is it? It's during phase 1, the one that...
It's not Into the Dark.
No. It's the second of the young adults. It's the one that we...
Race to Crash Point
No,
Tower.
that's Junior.
No, that's not it.
It's on the shelf.
Yeah.
It's,
Is it Out of the Shadows?
Yes. Out of the Shadows. Because that was our issue with Out of the Shadows, was that it was a busy book, but it just wasn't...
Yeah.
It just wasn't giving that stuff in the same fun way.
I think it's because Out of the Shadows focused on, like, 9 different characters' perspectives.
Whereas here, we kind of stick to 4 to 5.
4.
4 to 5.
Yeah.
5 at most, but, like, it's mostly 4.
Yeah.
And so,
It's 4 for the main book, 5 if you count Wreath for the epilogue.
Yeah. Well, I was also thinking Silvestri kind of gets some point of view here and there, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
To really call her a full point of view character. So yeah, so it's very condensed, but a lot of stuff, but in a fun, like, it's happening really quick, but it still happens in a way that you can keep up with what's going on. And it's doing a lot of heavy lifting for what's coming up. And so I think this is the book where we can start kind of theorizing what's going to happen in Wave 2. I think we're going to start journeying out. Maybe they're going to start journeying out into trying to get to Planet X. So that's probably going to be a book. We're probably going to deal with the political machinations of Elzar and what he did and how the Jedi kind of have to get a little more politically smart to kind of fight the public on this. Not like literally, but like make sure that the public can...
Careful, don't let Elzar fight the public. They'll lose.
The public will lose.
The public will lose.
Elzar will get mad.
Elzar will get mad. The public will lose, and then he'll feel bad about it later. That was a fucked up joke.
And then I think we're also gonna...
Aslan Rail's still gonna be crazy and blind.
And then we'll probably focus on the path, like getting people out of Nihil territory.
Yeah, getting across the storm wall.
Out of the occlusion zone. So that's probably our main three, what the main 3 books are going to be about. That's my theory, anyways. Based on the information we've got. I think narratively it makes the most sense that those are the directions we go.
And round 3 for Vice and Angle.
Yeah, whenever that comic comes out, yeah. But that is going to be everything for this episode. I think we've really talked about this the most that we can without giving... I once again, highly suggest reading this. This is, once again, young adult, proving that it's the best of the High Republic content. So thank you all for watching today's episode of Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I've been your host, Caleb. Be sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe to us. You can find us at Escape Reality Films on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and TikTok. You can show your support for us by joining our Patreon, which is at Escape Reality Films. Shout out to Jennifer Brantley.
Yo.
There you can watch our YouTube content before it's publicly available. Currently, it's the Grim Hollow stuff that's mostly up there, so if you want to catch up on that. I need to edit last night's game because we played last night.
It was a fun one.
Yeah, it was a good one. I thought it was a good start to the new arc. And then... and you can only you just need to pay $5 a month for getting access to that. And then also be sure to check out our Discord, which is linked wherever you're watching, so you can become a part of our community, which is also a way to listen to us as we play the D&D game live, because that's where we play it.
All we ask is that once the game starts, you mute your mic.
Yeah, just for politeness. You can always chat and type in the chat, and we'll sometimes interact with that. But you can also find me on Twitter at EscapeReality94 and Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Caleb.Lockwood. Seth, tell us about your D&D game that you play.
Yeah. Every Sunday from 5 to 7 Central Standard Time, you can catch me and some friends of mine over at Trials of Nebu on YouTube at the Steam Dungeon. Oh boy, we got out of that tunnel. No one died.
Okay.
No one died. We didn't even have to fight anyone. We just kind of lied. There was a little bit. There was a couple instances where it's like, I might have to kill someone, but no, we're good. Meanwhile, our goblin clear-out group is going pretty hard on them. They're winning big time.
Oh boy. But yeah, so once again, thank you all for watching. Join us next week as we talk about Tales from the Occlusion Zone Survivors. So another Star Wars Insider. I have spoken.
All right. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah. I'm feeling like a star, you can't stop my shine. I'm loving Cloud City, my head's in the sky. I'm solo, I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo, solo. Yeah, I'm feeling good tonight, finally feeling free and it feels so right. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see a princess, everything's alright. Oh, no job but I answer to. Ain't a fixture in the palace zoo. No, and since the carbonite's off me, I'm living life now that I'm free. Yeah, told me get myself together. Now I got myself together. Now I made it through the weather. Better days are gonna get better. I'm so happy the carbonite is gone. I'm moving on. I'm so happy that it's over now. The pain is gone. I'm putting on my shades to cover up my eyes. I'm jumping in my ride. I'm heading out tonight. I'm solo. I'm hunting solo. I'm hunting solo. I'm hunting solo, solo. I'm picking up my plans to put it on my sign. I'm jumping in my Falcon. Whoopie at my side. I'm solo. I'm hunting solo. I'm hunting solo. I'm hunting solo, solo. I'm hunting solo. I'm hunting solo, solo. Now I'm feeling how I should. Join the alliance, it feels so good. Oh, stop feeling misunderstood. Back in the game, who knew I would? Oh, so flat, time I spread my wings. Loving myself makes me wanna sing. No. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Told me get my act together. Now I got my act together. Yeah. Now I made it through the weather. Better days are gonna get better. I'm so happy the carbonite is gone. I'm moving on. I'm so happy that it's over now. The pain is gone. I'm putting on my shades to cover up my eyes. I'm jumping in my ride. I'm heading out tonight. I'm solo. I'm hunting solo. I'm hunting solo. I'm hunting solo, solo. Feeling like a star, you can't stop my shine. I'm loving Cloud City, my head's in the sky. I'm solo. I'm hunting solo. I'm hunting solo. I'm hunting solo, solo. It's like S-O-L-O-S-O-L-O-S-O-L-O. Living my life, ain't got stress no more. I'm putting on my shades to cover up my eyes. I'm jumping in my ride, I'm heading out tonight. I'm solo, I'm hunting solo. I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo, solo. Feeling like a star, you can't stop my shine. I'm loving Cloud City, my head's in the sky. I'm solo, I'm hunting solo. I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo, solo. Yeah.